Sir, Health Specialist UNICEF, to give us his introductory remarks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Madam. Respected Director, HFWTC Delhi, Director General Health Services, Madam, and thank you for giving opportunity to UNICEF for this. I think it's the first of its kind training of the trainers on menstrual hygiene management. Colleagues, we all know that menstrual hygiene scheme has its journey now more than 10 years. The promotion of menstrual hygiene scheme as a national program, it started in 2011 with a few districts, and later on it has been merged as part of the National Adolescent Health Program RKSK under the four pillars. Menstrual hygiene scheme is one of them: peer educators program, adolescent friendly health clinics, and WAVES program. So it's a multi-departmental agenda. We all know menstrual hygiene, it's not a one department. So Ministry of Health under RKSK program, Ministry of Education, Women Child Development, and also the Bureau of Indian Standards, all are contributing towards promotion of the menstrual hygiene. And the procurement of it is also, if you see in India, in many of the states, it's education department who is procuring and providing these menstrual pads free of cost to the children in schools. Under RKSK program, Ministry of Health is procuring. In some states like Andhra Pradesh, WCT department is procuring and also installing the vending machines, menstrual pad vending machines in schools. And also there was some debates for the disposal. It's very important topic, and I'm sure the trainers will include that topic in today's training as well. The Ministry of Health Sciences in later part of 2022, they have come up with the document use of the incineration. Small incinerators are there which are being installed in the schools for disposal, safe disposal of the menstrual hygiene materials and pads. But I would want to take your attention to a few critical things. Although as per the NFHS 5, the use of sanitary menstrual hygiene products is 78%. The study says that still 50% is the use of cloth. Although we have increased the number of napkins, tampons, and menstrual cups are also being used, our all efforts should be to promote the use of the sanitary pads. And for this, Government of India, various ministries are doing all possible steps to improve the menstrual hygiene practices. Some of the states are also using the innovative practices like use of the local self-help groups for development of the menstrual pads using falalin cloths, and some innovative methods are also being tried.
Recording in progress.
Some innovative methods are also being tried for the disposal of these sanitary pads. So it's a very good step again for the Government of Delhi Department of Health to involve and engage multi-stakeholders. I know Health Department and ICDS Department are here today for this TOT, and we'll be able to continue this cascade as Madam also mentioned that this is TOT. My last point is the trainers, thanks to Dr. Pratibha and Jennifer, and to let you know that these trainers are the national experts who have contributed to the development of menstrual hygiene policy, which is there on the up on the web. It's still in the draft stage, and we are providing and collating the comments everywhere for and looking forward to the final stages of this policy and the way forward. Thank you once again for giving UNICEF an opportunity to be part of this very important training. Over to you, Madam.
Thank you so much, sir. Moving ahead, we have 4 sessions with us, and that would be taken upon by our 2 facilitators from UNICEF. That is Dr. Pratibha Singh, WASH Specialist, UNICEF India, and second is Dr. Jennifer Selvaraj, MHM National Consultant, UNICEF India. Dr. Pratibha is a water sanitation, hygiene, environment, disaster preparedness, response, climate change professional with 21 years of experience of working with national and state government development through international, bilateral, and multilateral agencies. She has been proactively working on menstruation hygiene since past 11 years. And Ms. Jennifer is work as National Menstrual Hygiene Management Consultant for UNICEF India and have a total of 15 years of experience in the WASH sector, of which last 7 to 8 years have been in the field of menstrual hygiene. And we're working with UNICEF for the past 4 years as their national MHM consultant. So over to you, Dr. Pratibha and Ms. Jennifer for the next of the sessions.
Thank you so much, madam. I would just request if
Your sorry to disrupt, ma'am. Your voice is little less. Can you just increase the volume of the
yeah, sure. Can you please share the slides also?
slide? Ma'am, your voice is still less. It's not audible.
Hello, hello. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Now you can go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you so much for displaying the slide. So first of all, let me the senior most level officials and all the participants in the online meeting. That it's really praiseworthy. This is the master trainers model history and like my colleague Dr.
Ma'am, sorry to interrupt. I think there is, ma'am, sorry to interrupt. I think there is an internet issue or something else at your end. Your voice is still not clear.
Oh, okay. So just give me 2 minutes, huh? I will go to another connection with you.
Sure, ma'am, sure.
When you are a little louder, you are clear. Maybe thoda sa if you increase your volume, you would be audible, ma'am.
ये सारे रजिस्टर हुए ये नहीं पता नहीं अटेंडेंस कैसे करनी
Hello. Yeah, good afternoon again. I'm back. So, can I start with the presentation? Hello. Am I audible? Hello.
Ma'am, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you so much. So basically, this master trainer module is basically meant for all the stakeholders, senior level officials, medical officers, and all, and also the CDPOs and officials of that level. Also for like senior level people who are in the education department and all. And the basic purpose is to demystify the concept of menstrual health and hygiene because learning material is available online as well as some bits and pieces of information are communicated to us from the mainstream media as well, which is both print and print media.
Ma'am, sorry, ma'am, voice is not clear. We are not able to hear.
Yeah, I changed the internet.
Volume is very low, ma'am.
Volume is low. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I have to then maybe use another mic.
Hello. 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 Am I audible? Hello.
Yes,
Yeah, it's
much
fine
better.
now, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. So I'll get started. Please change the slide.
Yeah. So just we'll give you an overview. The aim of the module is to be an interactive teaching learning resource for master trainers or menstrual hygiene management. And purpose will be to support the menstruators, non-menstruators, people who menstruate, and understanding the body experiences and its importance. And basically, it will enable all the service providers. They may be working in different capacities across departments to be able to answer the questions they receive from either girl students, girls who are out of school, and also from the caregivers and family members of girls. And this is again meant as a like for some gender social intersection across locations of the country. Next slide, please. Yeah. So menstruator category, it's not just that general understanding that we all have in like is that only women and girls face the phenomena of menstruation. It's also a phenomena with the transgender men and also cisgender women whose gender identity matches with the sex they were assigned at birth, and also the transgender men who are assigned female at the time of birth but identify and live as men. So even those kind of people classify under the category of menstruators. And sometimes the needs of such excluded communities like transgender men and all are very much ignored, because generally people are not aware of it. And when it comes to having toilets in homes, in public places, schools, so people don't tend to see the need for including this category of individuals as well, which is very much neglected. Next slide, please. Yeah, so other menstruators are non-binary and gender queer individuals. So non-binary and these kind of individuals have gender identities that do not fit within traditional binary male or female, and they still go through menstruation. And intersex individuals who are born with these variations in the sexual characteristic, and they also face the problem of like I would say irregular cycle of menstruation and other associated things. And again, it's a very excluded and ignored group of people. But definitely over the years, more and more voices are getting heard about this category as well. Next slide, please. Yeah, so puberty is basically, as we understand, when boys and girls are moving into adulthood from childhood, and they are slowly becoming sexually mature. So it is a period of transition from childhood to adulthood, and this is not just about physical changes. Lot of mental changes as well happen. Emotional changes are happening due to the balance of hormones which are getting like changed in the body. And this involves physical changes, not only like growing of breast in women, wider hips, body hair, and also in men there are different features associated. And puberty in girls and women is marked by onset of menstruation, which continues till menopause. And when menstruation ends, like generally in the late 40s, mid 50s, till then, this is a phenomena where that every month people have to go through. Next slide, please. And menarche. So menarche is again some slightly technical term which needs to be demystified a little. So first menstruation, life 10 to 19 years of age. And so menarche is this kind of start of menstruation. And initially during menarche, sometimes the first period which girls have typically can be sometimes almost 1 month, and sometimes they can be irregular. So sometimes it takes almost a year or 6 months for the periods to get regularized, that they start happening every month and for 4 to 5 days every month. So even that process can take a little bit of time. And ovulation, which is like formation of the egg, the process, the biological process, which can also be slightly irregular when the periods start happening, and they may take up to 2 years for regular ovulation to occur. So this is the point where a lot of confusions are there in society. So parents of girls, especially the mothers, female member of family, caregivers and all, they tend to be very confused, like what is happening to the girl child. Initially she is not having regular period, or maybe period is too long or too short initially, or maybe it comes once in 2 months or once in 3 months, or sometimes it comes maybe a little sooner than that. So this kind of things are but natural biological process when the onset of menstruation is happening in the life of girls and women. Next slide, please. So menstruation, what is the just to demystify the technical word, it is a normal biological process experienced by all adolescent girls and women, and it is generally not spoken openly, and which leads to unnecessary embarrassment and shame. So and again, it is a very very unique natural process because it's a very unique gift of nature to continue human race, and no other animal in the whole universe, they go through the menstrual periods. Animals have a different cycle, and they don't bleed like human beings, and it's a unique thing which continues the human race. So despite of the great positive impact of menstruation, its criticality in continuing human race, still a lot of taboos and myths are there, and for that reason only it's very very important why I'm talking about all the technicalities and a little bit of complex jargon, is just to demystify so that people start normalizing. Now, menstruation starts getting normalized, that this is a periodic shedding of the lining of the women's uterus. It is one of the phases of menstrual cycle, and the uterus lining which breaks down, it comes out in the form of a bloody substance, and then it is secreted through the cervix and exits out of the body, and the process will usually last 3 to 5 days, and the amount of blood also varies from person to person, I would say menstruator to menstruator, and in between one period to another different factors govern how much blood will generally be secreted. Next slide please. Yeah, so this is like a human, like a menstruator's body, like before a period, what the female reproductive system would look like. And there's a thick lining before a period. And during the period, which you can see on your right side of the screen, during a period, the lining is naturally shed because the hormonal balance will change. And because of that, the blood flow happens. Also, it is very much linked to the cycle of formation of the egg inside the body, and then how it reaches the maturity in the 28-day period. So menstruation is a healthy sign of growing up. It is sign of good health, and it is not a sickness. Generally, what are prevalent terms in the society, that period is there, auntie has come and I am sick, people say I'm down or something. So but it is not the case. It can be, if it is properly managed, it is not a health issue, but sometimes due to lack of nutrition, lack of proper practices, it can become slightly challenging. And also sometimes because of the mindset which is prevalent in the society. So people can be excluded from usual work, and then it can create some complications. But if we normalize the whole menstrual process, just like another body process, just like men start growing beards when they are moving from their adolescent to their adulthood, it is to be seen in the same light, menstruation phenomena as well. So then more you normalize, more better physical and mental health and well-being can be guaranteed. Next slide, please. Yeah, so menstrual cycle is shown in this slide, how it is starting. So you can see from the slide, the circle, you can see menstrual cycle. The purple one, which is written, it is the day 1, then day 2. So purple phase is kind of, it is the uterus lining which is breaking down. Menstruation is happening between the purple boxes, and from the 6th day onward. So uterus lining starts to thicken up once more, and it's because of the change of balance of hormones in the body. So I would request one of the participants to kindly mute. I think it is Miss Afsana. So kindly mute so that yeah, we can continue. Otherwise, other participants will not be able to listen. Yeah, thank you so much. And between as after the 10th day, so the lining keeps thickening, and during the whole month, so ovulation happens. Ovulation is nothing but release of the mature egg inside the cavity of the uterus. So ovulation happens on the 14th day, and then the uterus lining continues to thicken. You know, the whole reason for uterus lining to become thick is to be able to support the egg in its growth. If the egg gets fertilized during this time, and then it will grow into a baby, and it will mature into embryo. It will go through all the phases of growth, and then baby will be maturing inside the body. However, if fertilization does not happen, then the uterus lining will be shed out. It will be slowly, it will it will be slowing off. The lining will break down on its own because of the hormonal change, and then it will come out in form of blood only. So menstrual cycle describes the cyclic changes of the female body during menstruation: follicular phase, ovulation phase, luteal phase, back to menstrual phase. So these are all technical terms. And menstruation is one of the 4 phases of the menstrual cycle. So it is a 28-day cycle. And you can see that the whole month, some process or the other is happening inside the body, which is the body prepares itself to receive the fertilized egg. And the egg stays inside, and if it is fertilized, then there is no period. Like if pregnancy happens, then there will be no period for 8 months, 9 months. And if pregnancy does not happen, then the menstrual flow will happen. So it is but natural process. Next slide, please. Yeah. So menstrual cycle, some of the other facts about this, it is 28 days, and sometimes it can vary from 21 to 35 days as well. And it is governed by different physical features, sometimes health condition and other things. And days of the cycle start with menstruation. Following menstruation, tissue and blood start to line the walls of the uterus to prepare uterus for receiving fertilized egg. And again, this is same thing that I was mentioning in the earlier slide. So bleeding will generally last between 2 to 7 days, with some lighter flow and heavy flow days. And cycle is often irregular in the first 1 or 2 years after menstruation begins. Then it will become slowly regularized. And in case there is some delay between periods, then that thing has to be kept in mind, that the duration of the menstrual cycle can vary from 21 to 35 days. So it is kind of plus minus 5 days. So if period is getting delayed 5 days by 5 days, then it is not a big issue. And if it is happening 4 days earlier or 3 days earlier, then also it's not a big issue. Only if more than heavy flow is happening, or period is happening too frequently, less than 21 days gap is there between period, then doctor has to be consulted. Proper medical help has to be taken. So, and these things have to be demystified, because delay of period sometimes can, if the community is not very much knowledgeable and all, they can try to explain it, like if a pregnancy has happened or not. They can get into a doubt, and then a lot of mental tension can happen. So they have to know the correct biological information. Next slide, please. Yeah, can we have the next slide? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So the menstrual cycle phase. So menstrual phase is the first stage of the menstrual cycle. This is when people get the period, and it starts when the egg from the previous cycle isn't fertilized. And then the follicular and ovulation phase. So follicular phase starts from first day of the period and ends when you ovulate. Starts from the hypothalamus. This is the gland in the body which signals the pituitary gland to release the follicular stimulating hormone, and hormone stimulates the ovaries to produce 5 to 20 small sacs called follicles. Each follicle will have a mature egg, and during ovulation, then the ovary will release the mature egg into the fallopian tube and towards the uterus to be fertilized by sperm. Next slide, please. Yeah. And then finally the luteal phase. When the follicle releases the egg, it will change into corpus luteum. And when the pregnancy does not happen, fertilization is not happening, then body will produce a human chorionic gonadotropin. And if people don't get period, then the corpus luteum will shrink away and will be reabsorbed within the body. So this is a very delicate mechanism. Also, it's a miracle of nature, I would say, that it takes care of the whole process on its own, and a delicate balance of hormone is governing the whole cycle. So during this phase, it is the balance of estrogen and progesterone which causes the onset of period, which maintains the whole cycle, and the uterus lining will be shed. So if people will not get pregnant, then some of the women might experience premenstrual syndrome. Next slide, please. So menstrual cycle, again, this is explained in a diagram, and what physical features, what behavior changes and all can happen. Next slide, please. Yeah. So the WHO, the World Health Organization, has defined menstrual hygiene as follows. Till now, we were talking about menstruation phenomena. Now, the menstrual hygiene program as such. What is menstrual hygiene actually? So, women and girls and also menstruators now will require clean menstrual management material to absorb and collect menstrual blood that can be changed in privacy as and when necessary during duration of the period. And women and girls should also have access to soap and water for washing the body as required, and they should have access to safe and convenient facility to dispose the used menstrual management material. And then again, the correct knowledge is very, very critical, that menstruation should not be seen as a burden of menstruators and females, but the basic biological fact should be brought to the information of girls and women, and this should be done in a dignified manner without any discomfort and fear. And also a correct knowledge should be given. It should not be that like from unverified sources some incorrect knowledge will be reaching. So this is the definition. Next slide, please. And actually, this definition will govern the whole program, like how you will chart out the menstrual hygiene program. And for good menstrual hygiene practices, you can see a very simple diagram. So you can see it starts with the washing of the vagina with plain water, and there's no need to go in for very costly products like the vaginal spray and all those things which are available in the market. And because they can disturb the pH balance of the female reproductive system, which is not very advisable. And during the period, the menstrual hygiene product has to be changed every 4 to 6 hours to prevent bacterial growth and infection. Sometimes during the low flow period, I mean the days of the period when the flow is very less, then girls and women get into the false impression, that it is okay even if I changed my pad after say 8 hours or 12 hours, but it is not good for the body because the bacterial growth will happen anyway, because female reproductive part is the biological design is that near the opening of the uterus, the vagina, we have this urinary tract as well, the anus as well. So all the bacteria and other kind of pathogens can get transmitted. So better to change the menstrual hygiene, sanitary pad and other product regularly. And proper washing of the used undergarment and clothes have to be done during the periods. Because in certain communities, there is an understanding that during the 4-5 days of period, there should be no bathing done. And same dress girls should be wearing on all the 5-4 days. So, that is not a correct practice, because first it will lead to like physically there will be bad smell and all, and also bacterial growth will be there, so which can cause a skin infection, and also it can lead to infection within the uterine tract also. So regular bathing, changing of undergarment is very, very critical. If people cannot manage to do that, at least wearing undergarments like wear once in 2 days or all, whatever is feasible as per the economic and social condition of the family also. And then bathing should not be restricted. So if it is very cold, at least lukewarm water can be used, and soap and water can be used. So there's no need to stop bathing and hygiene practices, because it can lead to further complication. Also, it's not good for the mental well-being as well. Then washing of hands is very important every time the sanitary pad is changed, or which may be reusable pad or which may be disposable pad, because the menstrual blood is not impure at all when it is coming out of the body. However, when the blood stays in contact with the surrounding, with the air and all, then some pathogen growth can happen, and which can come to the hand as well. And hands, as we know, are biggest transmitter of germs. So just to clean the pathogens and germs out of the hand, it is very important to hand wash. And then ensure safe disposal of used menstrual hygiene product. So that is very, very critical. Every facility, if it is school, household, it's a workplace, which can be hospital, which can be any other workplace, office or all, it should have in the female washroom, the safe disposal of menstrual hygiene product has to be ensured. Also, regular emptying of the waste bin should be done. Like the waste collector should, on a daily basis, they should take care of the waste. If the waste is very high load community toilet or some other facilities there where a lot of waste is happening, then they should maybe clean twice in a day. And undergarment should be dried, even if reusable menstrual pad is used, menstrual cloth is used, under the sun as much as possible. It should be dried, because then only the infection causing pathogens will be deactivated. Otherwise, sometimes it is possible that infection is not removed. And also ensure that after washing and all, undergarments are always stored in a clean and dry place, because generally the tendency, because of some social norms and all, there's a tendency to hide the fact about periods when girls and women are menstruating. So they tend to store the undergarments, and if they're using menstrual products like reusable cloth and all, they'll dry it and store it, maybe sometimes under the mattress or sometimes in the shoe rack or some like really, or sometimes in the rooftop or something. So it's not recommended. Better to store it in a clean dry place, otherwise insects and all and spiders and all can get inside. It can be another skin allergy issue, or some problem might happen. Next slide, please. Yeah. So from this slide onwards, Ms. Jennifer Selvaraj, who's our Senior National Consultant for Menstrual Hygiene and Health, so she will take over. And with this, I conclude, and thank you, and thanks to everyone for so patiently listening to the presentation. I hope you found it useful, and we remain open to further questions. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jennifer, and I would be taking the session forward. So before starting with the session, if anyone has questions at any point of time, please feel free to write down or jot it down in the chat box. We can always come back and take all those questions. And we'll try to take the session partially in Hindi also, so that it's more inclusive and other people can also join in. Okay. So we start with menstrual hygiene materials, menstrual products. The choice of sanitary protection or products is usually based on.
Ma'am, the voice is not clear, ma'am. Please, can you be a bit loud?
Is it fine now?
Yes, much better.
Okay. Okay. So when we talk about menstrual hygiene materials, the choice of products is usually based on a lot of factors and phenomena, like cultural background, the social background we come from, a user's preferences, the group the woman or child or the girl interacts with. For an example, if my friend uses a menstrual cup, I would be prone to get influenced by her and also start using a menstrual cup. Also there is this factor of access to funds and money. If a person coming from a well-off family or with a more access to funds will be more open to try out more sustainable products and more products that are more costly and not available to everyone. Similarly, access to wash facilities is also a very important component which can influence your choice of product. Next slide, please. Okay. So when we are talking about in today's time in urban context or even in rural context, but when we talk about Delhi, generally today we can find a various range of products like cloth pads, cloths, sanitary napkins, menstrual cups, sanitary panties, tampons, etc. So when we are talking about these products, the environmental impact, according to the environmental impact, it can be classified into three factors or under three categories, which is reusable materials, compostable disposal materials, and non-compostable disposal materials. Next slide. Okay. Next. And next. And the next one. Sorry, I covered this. Yeah. So the first category is reusable products. These are products that can be used multiple times. They have a lifespan of anywhere between 1 year to 10 years, resulting in a minimal disposal impact. there is a lot of hygiene and protection and care that is required when using these materials. And it's a one-time costly product, which is one time it might be costly, but when you talk about its life cycle, it's usually lower than other disposables. Next point. Menstrual cloth. So the first product that we take up is menstrual cloth under reusables. As we know, cloths are have been used in our country for a very long time. We have been, I think everyone among us have used cloths at one point of time, or we have known people, whether our parents or grandparents who have grandmothers who have used cloths. So cloths are these reusable pieces of fabrics which are worn externally to the body in the underwear, or sometimes where there are no underwears available, they are tied to the waist, and it's used to absorb menstrual flow. These menstrual cloths are usually supposed to be cotton, but nowadays you can also get other fabrics such as, am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So nowadays you can also get other types of cloths that can also be repurposed and used. So cloth is one very cheap and available product that is there in every household. It is very easy to use and maintain as well if taken care. It is very environment friendly and has one of the least impact environmentally. And of course, it's made from natural fabrics. Though a lot of protection, hygiene care has to be used for this product. There needs to be a soap for hand washing. There needs to be running water supply. There needs to be laundry detergent for washing of the used cloth and the underwear, as using cloth can lead to leakage as well. There needs to be a proper storage and drying place for the cloth that has been used, as well as the undergarments. So these are certain factors that influence in a big way for the people who use cloths. Second, the next slide. Next slide, please. Yes, reusable pads. So reusable pads are also cloth pads, but they are stitched cloth pads. So like in cloth, where we can just need to take a cloth, fold it and insert it in our underwear and use it. Reusable pads are shaped like a sanitary napkin, but they are made of different layers of cloths and are stitched together. And most of the times they have hook or a button to secure it in place so that it leads to less leakage. So these are also materials that are made to absorb menstrual flow, and they are made of natural or sometimes even synthetic materials. Sometimes there is a layer of certain plastic or fabric that is being inserted in between, many times even banana fibers and all, to ensure better absorption. So these reusable pads can be washed, dried, and reused for approximately up to 1 year if maintained properly. There are some producers who do large-scale manufacturing of reusable pads in India, but it is not readily available, as it is not very user-friendly as well, because once it absorbs the blood, it becomes very difficult to kind of clean it from inside because it's stitched up. So only the outer layer can be cleaned. So therefore, it is not very user-friendly. Also, if it is not dried and washed properly, it can lead to a huge infection problem. So it's very important when people who are using cloth pads are also have to be trained on good user practice. They have to have good provision of soap, underwear, storage bags. They have to have private washing facilities and specifically drying facility, which is a huge problem in our country. So that has to be ensured. So Next slide. There is a BIS standards that has been recently released for reusable sanitary pads as well, which can be referred to. Next slide. Yeah, so these are some of the popular reusable pads or brands that are available in Indian market. Just to put it out, UNICEF doesn't support or doesn't uphold any one particular brand. These are just choices and examples that are there available just to give you an idea of what is there. So these are some brands that are available online. The prices range from $2.99 to $9.99 per packet, and they can have anywhere between 3 pads to 6 pads. They are mostly available on sites like Amazon, Flipkart, and as well as website of the companies. Most of these uh, companies who sell reusable pads also sell other period items like panties and menstrual cups. Next slide, please. So the next is menstrual cup. Menstrual cup is a cup that is it's a non-absorbent bell-shaped device which is internally inserted into the vagina to collect the menstrual flow. So it is not worn outside the body, but it's inserted inside. It creates a seal and is held in place by the walls of the vagina. It is usually made of the medical grade silicone, and it's said to collect 3 times more blood than pads or tampons or any other period product. It just needs to be emptied every 6 to 12 hours, after which it can be washed and reinserted if there is facilities where you can wash and reinsert it. Menstrual cups are not easily available. They are a little high maintenance. They are mostly bought online, and it's though because it is inserted internally, there's a lot of cultural barriers and taboos that myths related to it. When a person is asked to use a menstrual cup, there is a need for proper education and discussion of these myths, taboos, perceptions, which will lead to cup acceptability, and they need a continued support and access to knowledge. These cups are often perceived as better than pads or cloth because of the lack of leakage feature. It's very easy to wash them, dry them, and store them. It's comfortable because very comfortable because you don't feel you are wearing any product, and you can basically do any activity. You can take up long hours of journey. You don't need to keep checking and changing as it happens in any other period product. Also, there is a lack of odor or any smell related to menstrual blood, which is a very common feature. So these are some of the very good features and bad features of a menstrual cup. So a menstrual cup once bought can be used for up to 5 to 10 years, and it comparatively produces less wastage than any other product, menstrual product in the market. So because if you buy a cup, you have to dispose it of at least after 5 years. So therefore, there is hardly any wastage that is produced. Also, but the only problem is there is in today's time there is a lack of regulation and standards around menstrual cup. Though it has been mentioned that it is typically made of medical grade silicone, but there are no standards, and therefore we don't know what people are using to create these menstrual cups. There is a high risk of infections if the menstrual cup is not washed properly, or it is reinserted with the dirty, unwashed hands. So these are certain things that needs to be kind of that needs to be educated. The people need to be educated about before we or anybody starts advocating menstrual cup. Next slide. Next slide. Okay, these are some of the popular brands that you can find in the Indian market. So menstrual cup can start anywhere between 250 rupees to it goes up to almost 2000 rupees. And they are available again on Amazon, Flipkarts, and the company websites. Now they are also available on Myntra and all. They usually come with their storage bag. They also provide a sterilization cup. So when you use a menstrual cup, you have to boil the menstrual cup, sterilize it before and after using it. So therefore, nowadays they provide with a sterilization cup, which can be very useful. Next, please. So the next category is disposable compostables, which are these are high degree of compostable. These are products with high degree of compostable content. They are one-time use and materials conducive to composting. They have limited impact on disposal. The layers, sealing absorbent layers, have high degree of compostability. There are very little or limited number of players in India, and there are hardly any choices. They are quite costly, and they can't be affordable for everyone. But it's being marketed more now, and in recent times we can see a rise in number of products that are being launched. Next slide, please. So the first product would be biodegradable pads. These are pads which are made of bamboo, jute, starch, corn, and banana fiber, making it free of any chemicals, parabens, plastics, and dyes. Therefore, there is a low risk of infections and rashes that come along with disposable sanitary pads usually. They are this makes these the nature of it, which is made from bamboo, jute, and starch, makes them fully degradable and decreases the chance of plastic accumulation in the product. So the delicate skin in the intimate areas can react with plastic-based products. Hence, these biodegradable pads are made up of plant-based products, making them very safer and, as I said, very less prone to infections. They are very comfortable to use as they are very soft. They are plastic free. They don't have any health hazards. These plastic pads usually take 700 to 800 years to decompose, but as opposed to these biodegradable pads, which can decompose within a year or two. Yeah, so other than this, they are expensive. They are not readily available in the market. They are majorly available online, and they specifically cater to a specific type of population in the urban crowd. These pads are single-use pads and have to be disposed of. So therefore, even though they are very costly, as opposed to menstrual cup, which can be used for 5 to 10 years, these pads are single-time use and have to be disposed of. Also, they have to be composted or buried for it to actually have a less impact on the environment, which makes it a little bit difficult for the urban crowd to go around looking for compost pits and deeper pits. Next slide. Next slide. So these are some popular brands that are there in the market for biodegradable pads. The pads can range anywhere between 200 to 1,000 rupees per packet. They again are available on sites like Amazon, Flipkart, and Myntra. And yeah. So next slide. So the last category under this menstrual hygiene products would be non-compostable disposals. These are disposable products with minimal compostability or no compostability. One-time use with compostable absorbent layer typically sealed within non-compostable layers, which is cotton, like cotton sanitary pads, which have a layer of plastic inside. So therefore, you can't compost it because of the plastic, though there is cotton. So it can take a minimum of 250 years and up to even 800 years for it to fully decompose. This is the largest market, and they have the largest reach in India with multiple players. MNC, social enterprises, SAG units, government, everybody usually goes for non-compostable disposals. There are BIS standards for sanitary napkin also, which have been recently released some years back, and um, so these are now being adhered to. Next slide. So as we're discussing, the disposable pads are the sanitary disposable pads we find in the market. They are worn externally to the body. They have to be disposed of after at least a maximum of 6 to 8 hours. They have a layer of plastic in them. They can cause skin rashes and can cause infection if not changed regularly. They come in various sizes, though, and um, absorbencies materials, and therefore they are very preferred because they, as we all know, they come. These sanitary pads come in absorbencies for night use, for daily use, for long travel use. So these are quite popular, therefore, among women and girls. The local procurement of these product is very easy and cheap, and as well as disposable. As well as disposables, because usually it is just disposed of in dustbin and then all collected by the garbage people in the urban area. They are locally produced. The locally produced disposable pads are sometimes available through varying quantity and quality. Distributing enough pads and ensuring they have continuous access to these pads is a very important feature of disposable sanitary pads. So disposable sanitary pads are often preferred and considered by girls and women as they see it to be very reliable, hygienic, comfortable, and easy to use. They should, when we are talking about disposable pads to people and girls, we should include education on proper use and specifically safe disposal by taking in the local beliefs and practices into account, because this plays a very important role, as these pads do contain harmful products such as plastics and other chemicals. It is very important that people are educated on periodic change and disposal of these pads. Next slide. Next slide. So these are some of the brands that are available in the market. We all have heard about this for sanitary napkins, Stay, etc. So these can range anywhere between 30 rupees to 700 rupees per packet. They are commonly available in markets, pharmacies, grocery shops, online. Locally made brands are also available with Asha Anganwadi workers and SAG women, and also in our school settings. Next, please. So under this category, the other product is tampon. Tampons are not very hugely popular, as it is again a product that has to be inserted. They are absorbent materials made from cotton or at times even rayons that are inserted into the vagina to absorb the menstrual flow. They expand with moisture and thereby avoid any kind of leakage. They can be worn up to 8 hours, after which they have to be removed using the removable string and has to be disposed of. They come in various sizes, small, medium, and large, which can be used according to the 8 different age groups. And it also comes with different materials, as I said, about cotton and rayon. They can be used with an applicator, which assists in insertions, or without an applicator, which can be directly inserted, for which you need to go through washing of hands and make sure it's handled in a hygienic way. Tampons are often not easily available. They are expensive. They also, girls and women also have this fear of pain when we are talking about insertion of tampons, menstrual cups, and all. So also there is this problem where tampons have got stuck inside, and the thread that is supposed to hang outside is not available, it can't be seen, and then it gets stuck and people go into panic mode. So these are some of the issues that come when tampon use has been where you see tampon use. Also, tampon use is associated with toxic shock syndrome, which is a very dangerous and potentially fatal disease. Um, Residual chemical and fragrance can lead to allergic reactions as well. If a person using a tampon doesn't change tampon at a regular interval, which is 6 to 8 hours, they are open to TSS or toxic shock syndrome, and it can lead to very dangerous situations. It can there has been lots of cases abroad, though, because in India there is people are hardly using tampons. We don't have many cases here, but we can always do a Google search and see that there are very disturbing stories of how people have gone through surgeries and even have died due to TSS. So, but other than that, tampons are also not environment friendly, and they also take anywhere between 250 years to 800 years to decompose. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah. So some of the popular tampon brands in Indian market are here, and they can range anywhere between 200 rupees to 1500 rupees per packet. They are commonly available on online sites like Amazon, Flipkart, and company website. They are also now available in a lot of urban pharmacies and big departmental stores like Modern Bazaar and Waymarch and etc. in urban context. Next slide. So now we come to menstrual waste management. So when we are talking about menstrual waste comprises of menstrual absorbent soiled with blood and human tissues. So use of menstrual hygiene product many a times is very closely related to waste disposal. That is why when we were talking about the product choices above, we kind of categorized and talked about each of the product and their disposal as well. So a lot of people's choices of products also depends upon the availability of disposal mechanism that is available. Next slide. So basically, there are three approaches for menstrual waste management. Reduce waste volume, which means we lessen the amount of waste that is generated, which can happen only when we potentially change the product. So instead of using compostable and non-compostable sanitary products, we change it to reusable products such as menstrual cups, cloth, and cloth pads. The second approach is sterilization of waste, where we make menstrual waste less hazardous through treatments that make them inert and pathogen-free. This involves chemical treatments and autoclaving technologies. This is quite a complex process and involves a lot of huge technological involvement. It's very, very costly, and it's not something that can be installed in every nook and corner. The last is changing the very physical nature of the waste, making the waste easier and safer to handle, and reduce the waste volume by changing the very structure of the waste. That is, if you take a sanitary napkin and dispose it off, it comes out as an ash. So, which happens when we incinerate. So, incineration, deep burial, composting, recycling. These are all the examples for the third approach for changing the very physical nature of the waste. Next slide. Okay. So basically, in India, we can see 4 different types of waste disposal around us. One is incinerators, where we burn the menstrual waste. Collection of menstrual waste from our households. A lot of us have this privilege where we have garbage collectors coming at our doorstep and collecting our waste and taking. Then we have the burial pits and compost pits, This is a very rural concept again. And here also sanitary napkins made from wood pulp and non-woven cotton can be disposed of. Finally, there are people who change to reusable cloth bags. So when we talk about incinerators, we have to keep in mind certain things like when incinerators are installed for disposals, combustion has to be ensured at a high temperature, which is above 800 degrees Celsius, to convert waste into relatively harmless gases and incombustible solid waste. It can be used at community and at institutional levels such as schools, hospitals, etc. The process of collection and transportation of menstrual waste needs to be defined. If the incinerator is not installed, like in places like community, where community incineration has been installed, we have to figure out if there is a particular process of collection of these menstrual waste from household or from schools and then transported to community incineration facilities. So when incineration occurs in unsafe condition, it can lead to release of hazardous gases, dioxins, carcinogenic gases, and fuels can be released. Due to which we have to, as I said above, we have to ensure that combustion happens at above 8 degrees Celsius. There is already standards for emission by our Central Pollution Control Board, and that can be referred to whenever there is an installation of incinerators. The volume of product disposed on a daily and weekly basis has to be looked on when we talk about incineration, because incineration, when we talk about incinerators at school level, it is not a huge incinerator which can handle huge amount of waste, but maybe on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, it can be used. But when we talk about incinerator at a hospital or at a community level, then we have to also think about what is the volume of product that is being disposed at that particular facility. Operation and maintenance is very, very important when we talk about incineration. For an effective and efficient functioning incinerator, it is necessary to have a well-trained caretaker. Most of the times, we do not have a person who is well-trained in entire operation and maintenance of the incinerator, which can lead to it becoming defunct in the longer run. They also needs to be trained on safety equipment and how to handle it properly. The users also have to be trained, like in schools, girls have to be trained on how to safely use the incinerators. And one of the very good practices that comes with incineration is proper segregation of menstrual waste in institutions where it is being installed. Next slide, please. Next. So the image that you see is of a deep burial pit. Deep burial pits is a usually a pit that is a deep pit with which is half filled with waste and then covered with soil and other things like leaf and other things. It's used. Okay, so the deep pit is a sorry. So deep. Sorry, I'm just somebody has been saying something, so I'm sorry for the distraction. Yeah. So burying in a deep pit usually requires a lot of physical work and space because it is not a small waste management thing that can be constructed. It has to be in an open space. There are certain specifications that has to be adhered to it. It has to be at a particular distance from any drinking water source or anything. And usually it is a complex construction process as well. It has to have certain layers around it and what goes inside it. So it requires a lot of physical work and space, but if practiced well and if it once constructed, it can be a very low cost option. The disadvantages is that during the rainy season, because deep burial pit should not have water going inside it. So um, the limitation, of course, is during the rainy season, it's very difficult to maintain. Also, high water table areas such as hilly regions are not, and in hilly regions, it's not possible to have burial pits, deep burial pits. Also, many at times, because we are talking about a subject which has taboo and shame surrounding it, it's very difficult for people to kind of get into practice of going out and disposing their menstrual waste every time into a pit, which everyone will know is for menstrual waste disposal. So it has a community kind of a social taboo surrounding it as well. It is also very difficult to keep these deep burial pits protected from animals and rodents, which can use it to, house inside and can kind of bite through the wire meshes and everything. So it's very hard to maintain these pits. But once built properly and with proper graded items, it can be a good low cost option in the long run. Next point. Next slide. Next. So composting pits. Composting pit is a form of waste disposal whereby organic waste decomposes naturally under oxygen-rich conditions. Used paper tissues, cloth-based absorbents, and biodegradable sanitary napkins, which are made of wood pulp and non-woven cotton, can be composted. So we have to be, when using a mechanism like composting pits, one has to be very sure that we do not mix any kind of plastic materials with it, because it will kind of unfulfill the entire process. Also, these compost pits can be found in certain regions in our country, like Andhra. Andhra has one very good example of composting pits. So you can find these. Similarly, Bihar has. So certain certain states are already doing this in our country, and the construction and maintenance of these composting pits have to have certain adherence to it, and we have specified construction standards for it that has to be properly done under supervision. There has to be a certain design and implementation that has to be adhered, and a regular monitoring system must be put into place for maintaining any of these composting pits or deep burial pits. Next. Next. Yeah. So this is the end of menstrual product and waste management. We now move on to the next subject, which is the different health related issues surrounding menstruation. So we first start with the perimenopause, menopause, and post-menopause thing. This is a very conveniently ignored subject when we talk about menstrual hygiene or menstruation, because when we talk about menstruation, only a particular age group is considered, and people who are post that age group of menstruating age group, we are conveniently ignored, and their problems are not considered as a menstrual issue, which is actually wrong, and this is very much a part of menstrual health issue. So perimenopause is the time leading to menopause. It's a natural process which is caused when your ovaries gradually stop working, and the menstrual cycle lengthens here. The flow becomes irregular. So a woman might get periods twice or thrice in a month also. So the period, the length and the irregularity becomes erratic. Usually women start their menopause at different ages, but the most common is between their 40s and 50s. But in today's time, We can also see some women as young as 30s, in their 30s also starting their menopausal age, perimenopausal age. So the signs and symptoms, as I said, is one of the major sign is periods tend to happen on shorter cycles, and they are also very closer together. There is no 28 days or 32 days of cycle. It can happen after every 1 week or a break of 4 or 5 days. So this is one of the very noticeable sign of perimenopause, and there's nothing to worry about. It's a very common and normal thing that happens to every woman at this age. Despite irregular periods, one has to also understand that pregnancy is possible. And when we talk about perimenopause, you can go on to the next slide. Sorry. So when we talk about menopause, some of the symptoms are irregular periods, vaginal and bladder problems, the need to frequently pee, then a lot of itching and sensitive sensations around vagina. You can feel a burning sensation. Then hot flashes, women go through hot flashes, chills, mood changes, sleep problems. There is changes in sexual function. Cholesterol level also changes. Women can go through low BP, high BP, and so these are some of the symptoms. So perimenopause doesn't need to be treated, unless and until these symptoms are like really at its extreme and are something that are not being able to be handled at household level. Next slide. Next. Next. Okay, menopause. So the next phase is menopause. So menopause is defined as the time of the final menstrual period and followed by 12 months of no period. So there is this is what menopause is called, and menopause is a natural biological process. So the physical symptoms are almost the same as perimenopausal. There are hot flashes, irregular periods. There is dry skin, sleep problems, vaginal dryness, night sweats, mood changes. There might be weight gains, and as your metabolism has really slowed down, there might be experience of chill, loss of breast fullness, and breasts can become saggy, thinning of hair. So these are some of the symptoms of menopause. Next slide. Postmenopause is the period that follows the final menses, that is the last period a woman goes through. During this stage, menopausal symptoms such as hot flashes get milder or they completely go away. People in postmenopause are at a higher increased risk of osteoporosis and heart diseases. Medication and healthy lifestyle is usually advised at this age, and they bring in a huge change and reduce the conditions and the symptoms of postmenopause. Um, So the vaginal bleeding during postmenopause period is something that is of concern and requires immediate medical attention. It could lead to conditions like uterine fibroid, infections like endometriosis, or even sometimes cancer. So once a person enters postmenopause, they are in this stage for the rest of their life, because obviously that is the last period a woman goes through. The hormone levels will continue to remain low, and there will be no monthly period thereon. One can't get pregnant after this, as their ovaries have stopped releasing the eggs. So this is about postmenopause. Most people in postmenopause feel lingering symptoms from menopause. They can be little intense, and in most of the cases, they are disappearing. So there is hair loss, dry skin, insomnia, weight change, urinary inconsistencies, and all those that we discussed in the previous slide of menopauses. So medical attention usually in postmenopause is not required, only if it kind of intervenes with your interferes with your regular day-to-day activities. Only then it's advised to seek medical help. But regular visits for preventive healthcare is totally recommended. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Okay. So, so other than these issues, there are certain other health issues related to menstruation among women and girls. The first is menstrual cramps. So many individuals experience menstrual cramps. So I think we all have heard or gone through menstrual cramps in our lives when we have had our periods, or women in our household have gone through and we have witnessed it. So these are caused by uterine contractions as uterus sheds its lining. Cramps can range from mild to severe and can be accompanied by sometimes lower abdominal pain, sometimes back pain, thigh pains, etc. Heavy menstrual bleeding. This is excessive or prolonged menstrual bleeding, and it can lead to anemia, fatigue, and discomfort. So menstrual cramp, the first point, menstrual cramp in itself is not a health issue. Only when it becomes something that's unbearable, it becomes a health issue. Okay, so next is irregular menstrual cycles. As Pratibha ji said in her session also, when we start our periods, there is a period of 2 years when there are irregular menstrual cycles, because your body is getting used to it and it kind of figures out what cycle it needs to go through and all. So you may get periods within 1 month, or once in 2 months, or sometimes once in 3-4 months. But after those 2 years, a woman and or a girl continues to get periods at a regular cycle. In case that doesn't happen, it needs medical advice and attention. It can be caused by hormonal imbalance, stress, medical conditions, or sometimes even certain medications we are going through or taking can also interrupt with it. Irregular cycles needs to be addressed because they can affect fertility, and therefore it needs proper medical evaluation. Premenstrual syndromes, PMS, as we have also discussed this before with Pratibha, PMS includes physical and emotional symptoms that occur during the days leading to menstruation. These can include mood swings, bloating, breast tenderness, and fatigue. But this is not a health issue unless and until, again, it's interfering with your day-to-day activity and becomes something that is overwhelming and can't be addressed at an individual household level. Then certainly it needs to be taken up for medical evaluation. PMDD, premenstrual dysphoric disorder, is a severe form of PMS. As I said before, anything that is too intense and too intense moods, disturbances, depression, irritability, anxiety, which is significantly impacting your daily life, is something that needs to be addressed. The final one is polycystic ovary syndrome, PCOS. We all have heard about it. It's a hormonal disorder that can cause irregular periods, acne, weight gain, and fertility issues among women. Next slide. We also have things like endometriosis, which is a very common issue in today's time, especially in urban areas. This is a condition where tissue similar to the lining of the uterus grows outside the uterus. It can cause severe pelvic pains, painful periods, and fertility problems among women. And this needs to be immediately addressed and needs major lifestyle changes to address this. Fibroids, uterine fibroids are non-cancerous growths in the uterus that can cause heavy menstrual bleeding, pelvic pressure, and pain, though they usually do not interfere with day-to-day activities, but sometimes they can cause a lot of pain and needs to be removed. Amenorrhea, or lack of no periods. refers to the absence of menstruation. This can be caused by factors such as extreme exercise, low body weight, hormonal imbalance, or medical condition. This is one such thing that can be found among people in the sports industry, people who are into athletics and are engaging in extreme exercise, who take a lot of supplements and steroids, essentially. So this can cause a huge hormonal imbalance and lead to this condition. Menopause and perimenopause, we have already discussed before. Menstrual hygiene can lead to certain menstrual hygiene issues, infections, discomfort, itching, burning sensations, white discharge problem, and these needs to be addressed. TSS or toxic shock syndrome, as I discussed, it's one of a very serious condition associated with tampons, and it can cause high fever, rash, organ failure, death, and as I said, there are cases where people had to kind of undergo surgeries where they had to cut off their legs and arms to stop the spreading of TSS inside the body. So the last, of course, reproductive health conditions. Menstruation is always connected to reproductive health. So conditions like infertility, ovarian cyst, and uterine infections can impact menstrual health. Next slide. Next slide. Next. So we can skip 3 slides. Next. And next. Yeah. So finally, the last part of the session, the training, is about myths and taboos in India. I think we all here are aware of all these topics that we have covered so far. Same goes for myths and taboos as well. So let's start by looking at how these myths and taboos essentially originated. So in ancient times, when women and girls were going through menstrual experiences, they were kind of asked to due to pain, due to them being sick, due to continuous bleeding and lack of availability of menstrual products, they were kind of isolated, given a specific place in the household. They were asked not to move around, not to cook, not to go out, not to take bath, because obviously there were no washing facilities at household level. There used to be ponds, so they were kind of isolated at home. But eventually it started, as the times moved, it started to be perceived as something cursed and impure, dirty, because of which the girls are kind of segregated and isolated. They were outcasted and seen as carriers of bad omen, whereas the actual cause of menstruation was actually ovulation followed by a missed chance of pregnancy. But so yeah, it obviously led to it being seen as a suffering and something very bad for a woman and a girl, where a woman is seen as dirty and the body kind of is seen as impure during that time. So this is how myths and taboos, which the practices which we now call it as myths and taboos, came into existence. Something which was kind of designed to give us privacy, give us that rest, that upliftment, eventually started being viewed and deduced as something that needs to be kind of needs to be outcasted and seen as pure and impure, and now it has infested as myths and taboos in our society. Next slide. So some of the prevalent myths and taboos in India would be impurity and untouchability, where women are considered impure and are advised to be kept separated from the family members. Isolation and seclusion. Women in some households, in some states in our country itself, you can see menstruating women are given a separate huts, menstrual huts, to go and stay during those menstruating times, because they are seen so impure and dirty that they are not supposed to enter the household, thereby bringing in impurity and bad omen to the house. Similarly, women are not allowed to participate in social activities when they are menstruating. This we can find even in the urban context. People don't like to go for weddings, are not allowed to go for weddings, participate in any ceremonies that happens in weddings, or in any religious gatherings or anything. They are also not allowed to go to places of worship. Um, as I said, restrictions on religious activity. Women are not are prohibited often from entering places of worship or participating in religious ceremonies. They can't do the daily puja and cooking and everything. Food restrictions. Many people, especially when you go to schools and you talk to girls, you come to realize that many communities believe that menstruating women and girls can't consume certain types of food like sal food, dahi, and thanda khana. They can't have these food because this can lead to disruption in bodily balance, and they are supposed to eat very simple food. Um, though there is a little bit truth to it, saying that during menstruation, women are supposed to have a good balanced diet, but there is no restriction saying they can't have any particular food. They should prefer more healthy food and should try to have a more greens, more calcium rich food, protein rich food, but there is nothing prohibiting them from having anything. Finally, physical restrictions. Engaging in physical activities like cooking, touching plants, touching achar, pickles, washing clothes during menstruation is sometimes considered unacceptable. Washing clothes of other people in the household because they are considered impure, due to the belief that it leads to contamination. So these all things are related to the concept of contamination because they are considered impure. Therefore, they don't want to be a person who should be cooking for the entire household, or serving them food, washing their clothes, etc. Other than that, we live in a country which is so varied, which is so we have so many people from different religious backgrounds, from different social and cultural backgrounds. So when you do go to different areas, different states, different districts, regions, communities, you see a different number of myths and taboos in different societies. Some might be prevalent in the society that I come from, whereas some of these might not be adhered to in your society, but something new might be prevalent there. So whenever we talk about myths and taboos, we have to understand the community, the culture, and the social belief that we are addressing, the people who come from that background, and accordingly understand that, and then address those issues. Next slide. Next. Yeah. So combating myths and taboos. One of the very effective way of combating myths and taboos is for education. Menstrual hygiene education. Implementing a comprehensive menstrual hygiene education in schools is the first step to break the silence and provide right and accurate information to boys and girls. This also kind of falls into the second point, which is community awareness programs. It is overlapping because menstrual hygiene education is not just important at school levels for girls and boys, but also at community level, because girls and boys go back to their houses where they have to, from where these myths and taboos arise. So obviously the community back home have to be also educated on it. So conducting workshops, discussions, awareness campaigns, involving men and leaders in the community to talk about menstruation myths and taboos, and kind of breaking the silence around the shame, the the embarrassment, the taboo around this topic itself is a very important step towards combating myths and taboos. Next slide. Second is policy change. This we can already see in implementation. Some states in India have also already implemented policies. We, in fact, are sitting in a training which is a part of it, where we have realized the need to kind of talk to professionals like you. There is a need now where we are also talking to other stakeholders such as government officials, teachers, community level workers, communities, everyone, all the stakeholders involved, as well as decision makers, who are now who are the actually the people who make these policies. So in order to talk about menstruation, in order to talk about myths and taboos and addressing menstruation as a common subject, it is very important to for menstruation to have that priority, to be highlighted in the talk, in the normal policy talks. That is where this conversation starters is coming in. We are starting conversations around menstruation in all states, in all districts, and at all villages, so that eventually we can come up to a level where these policy changes can be made possible. Finally, media campaigns. There is a need to use various forms of media to promote open conversation. Social media platforms, TVs, newspapers, open discussions, community discussions, workshops. These all campaigns at large levels. These all needs to be included, and these will enable to challenge the existing cultural norms, and therefore use these platforms to communicate the right and accurate information to all, not just to girls and boys and just to the women, but also to the men, the policymakers, to professionals like you and me. We all need to be informed about the right information on menstruation and menstrual hygiene. Yeah. So this is the end to the session. And thank you all for patiently listening to it. Please, I'm open to any questions that you might have. So.
Yeah, platform is open for the questions. So I request participants, if they have any questions from Ms. Selviraj, they can ask. Thank you, ma'am, for the wonderful session, taking us through the wonderful sessions which you have about the menstruation products, menstruation health related issues, and addressing the myths and taboos associated with